Mount Olivet Baptist Church, Harlem, New York. Sunday afternoon, September 12, 1948. Over 400 people packed into wooden pews, their voices raised in hymn, their eyes fixed on the open casket at the front of the church. The body inside was Sadie Mae Washington. 30 years old. Nurse. Healer. The woman who had delivered over 300 babies and never missed a single shift in 7 years. On Thursday morning, she'd been found dead on her bedroom floor. The police called it a heart attack. Her mother knew better. But what she didn't know, what no one in that church knew, was that the official story was a lie built on bribes, buried evidence, and men who looked away. Until Bumpy Johnson stood up from the second row and walked toward the casket and touched the makeup on her neck and changed everything. Sadie Mae Washington was born in 1918 on 139th Street in Harlem. Her mother, Dorothy Washington, had taken in laundry for 6 years to put Sadie through nursing school at Lincoln Hospital. 6 years of bent backs and raw hands and hands that never stopped moving. Sadie graduated in 1941. Top of her class. By 1948, she had delivered over 300 babies at Harlem Hospital. 300 children who got their first breath because Sadie Washington was there. 300 mothers who survived because she knew what to do. She worked the night shift for 7 years straight. Never missed a single day. Not once. People in Harlem didn't just know her name. They knew her presence. The way she moved. The way her voice sounded when she checked your blood pressure or held your hand during labor. She never married. When people asked why, she'd smile and say, "Harlem's my family. These babies are my babies." Every Sunday she sang soprano in the choir at Abyssinian Baptist Church. Her voice was clear and strong, and when she sang, people closed their eyes and forgot about their problems. Every Friday she visited the elderly on her block, bringing homemade soup, checking blood pressure, sometimes just sitting and talking, holding a hand that hadn't been held in months. To the people of Harlem, Sadie Mae Washington was an angel. Not a metaphor. An actual angel who lived in a small apartment on 141st Street and spent her life making sure other people survived. But she had one weakness. She had a brother. Marcus Washington was everything Sadie wasn't. 28 years old. Charming, handsome, reckless. He gambled. He drank. He borrowed money from the wrong people. By 1947, he'd burned every bridge in Harlem. So he moved to New Haven, Connecticut, and told his sister he'd found work at the docks. What he really found was a poker game. And a man named Vincent Moroni. Vincent Moroni was a loan shark. 52 years old. Hard eyes. The kind of man who broke fingers for a living and charged interest on pain. In January 1948, Marcus borrowed $800 from Moroni. Said he'd pay it back in 2 months. Moroni charged 20% interest per month. Compounded. By March, Marcus owed $1,152 and couldn't pay. Moroni sent his men. Marcus saw them coming. He disappeared into upstate New York. Didn't tell Sadie. Didn't tell his mother. Just vanished. He didn't understand that in the world of loan sharks, disappearing doesn't erase the debt. It only transfers it. By September, 6 months later, Marcus owed over $2,000 with accumulated interest. Moroni didn't care about excuses. He wanted his money. And if Marcus wouldn't pay, Moroni would find someone who would. He found Sadie. On Wednesday, September 8, 1948, at 11:32 p.m., Sadie Mae Washington was walking home from her shift at Harlem Hospital. She'd just worked 14 hours. Double shift. Another nurse had called in sick. She was exhausted. Her feet hurt. Her back ached. 2 blocks from her apartment on 141st Street, a blue Buick pulled up beside her. Connecticut plates. 3 white men inside. Vincent Moroni, Tommy Ricci, Frank Calabrese. The car slowed. Moroni rolled down the window. "Hey, you Sadie Washington?" Sadie stopped. Looked at the car. 3 white men she didn't know. Late at night. Her instincts screamed danger. "Who's asking?" "Your brother Marcus owes me money. $2,000. I'm here to collect." Sadie's stomach dropped. "I don't know where Marcus is. I haven't seen him since March." Moroni smiled. Not a friendly smile. A wolf smile. "Then I guess you'll have to pay his debt." What happened next happened fast. Ricci moved fast, opened the back door, grabbed Sadie before she could run. She screamed once. Loud. High-pitched. Then Ricci's hand clamped over her mouth, dragging her toward the car. She fought. Kicked. Scratched his face. Ricci threw her into the back seat, climbed in after her. Calabrese hit the gas. The car sped away into the Harlem night. The car sped away into the Harlem night. From across the street, a third-floor window, Mrs. Ella Brooks was sitting in her armchair. She suffered from insomnia. Most nights she sat by her window from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., just watching the street, watching her neighborhood. She saw everything. The blue Buick that had been parked there for 3 days. The same 3 white men she'd seen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The car pulling up beside Sadie. The man grabbing her. Sadie's scream cutting through the night. The car speeding away. Mrs. Brooks jumped up, her heart pounding. She wanted to run outside. Call for help. Call the police. But Mrs. Ella Brooks was 68 years old. She'd lived in Harlem since 1903. 45 years. She knew how this worked. Police didn't come for black folks. Not quickly. Not seriously. And if they did come, they usually made things worse. But Mrs. Brooks wasn't helpless. She grabbed a pencil and an envelope from her kitchen drawer, sat down at her small table, and wrote carefully. License plate number. Connecticut. Full number. Car, blue Buick. Men, 3 white men. Time, 11:32 p.m. September 8, 1948. Location, 141st Street. Grabbed Sadie Washington. She folded the paper, put it in her Bible for safekeeping. Then she sat by that window until sunrise, praying Sadie would come home. Sadie didn't come home. They took Sadie to an abandoned warehouse near the East River. A place Vincent Moroni used for collections. For persuasion. For making examples. Inside, Moroni tied Sadie to a chair. "Where's your brother?" "I don't know." "Please, I haven't seen Marcus since March." Wrong answer. What happened over the next 3 hours was torture. Moroni used rope. Cigarettes. His fists. Trying to make Sadie tell him where Marcus was hiding. Trying to make her call him. Give up an address. Something. But Sadie didn't know. Genuinely didn't know. Marcus had cut her off 6 months ago. Stopped calling. Stopped writing. She couldn't give Moroni what she didn't have. Around 2 a.m., Moroni was frustrated. Angry. He'd driven 6 hours to Harlem, spent 3 days watching Sadie's apartment, and this woman was giving him nothing. He wrapped the rope around Sadie's neck. Tightened it. Last chance. Where is he? Sadie couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Moroni pulled harder. At 2:17 a.m., Sadie Mae Washington stopped breathing. Moroni let go. Stepped back. Looked at Ricci. At Calabrese. We just killed a nurse. A Negro nurse in Harlem. We need to fix this. Calabrese started panicking. But Moroni thought fast. We make it look natural. Heart attack. She was overworked. Night shift nurse. 30 years old but working herself to death. It happens. How? I know a cop. Patrick Donnelly. 28th Precinct. He's been on our payroll for 2 years. We call him. He writes the report. Says heart attack, natural causes. We give him $1,000. He makes this go away. They wrapped Sadie's body in a blanket. Drove back to her apartment at 3:30 a.m. Carried her up 3 flights of stairs. Laid her on the bedroom floor. Made it look like she'd collapsed getting ready for bed. Moroni looked around the apartment. Small. Clean. Photos of Sadie with patients. With babies. A calendar on the wall with hospital shifts marked in pencil. For 1 second, Moroni felt something. Guilt. Regret. Then he remembered the $2,000 Marcus owed him. He pulled out a phone number and made a call. Thursday morning, September 9, 1948. 7 a.m. The building superintendent, Mr. Lewis, knocked on Sadie's door. She hadn't shown up for work. The hospital had called. That wasn't like her. Sadie was never late. No answer. He used his master key, opened the door, found Sadie on the bedroom floor, face down, one arm stretched out like she'd been reaching for something. Mr. Lewis ran downstairs, called the police from the lobby phone. At 7:35 a.m., officers Patrick Donnelly and James Murphy arrived. Donnelly walked into the bedroom first, looked at Sadie's body, saw the bruise on her left cheek. Saw the rope burns on her neck. Someone had tried to position her collar to hide them, but he could still see the marks. The torn fingernails. This wasn't a heart attack. Murphy knelt down, checked for a pulse, even though she'd clearly been dead for hours. What do you think, Pat? Donnelly glanced at Murphy. Then at Mr. Lewis standing in the doorway. Step outside for a minute, sir. Mr. Lewis left. Closed the door. Donnelly walked to the window, looked out at the street. At the blue Buick parked 2 blocks away. Moroni's car. Still in the neighborhood. Murphy saw Donnelly's face. Something was wrong. Pat, what's going on? Nothing. We're writing this up as natural causes. Are you serious? Look at her neck. Heart attack. She fell, hit her face on the nightstand. That's what killed her. That's the report. Murphy stared at his partner. They'd been partners for 3 years. Murphy trusted Donnelly. Respected him. But this. Pat, this is murder. Look at her hands. She fought someone. Donnelly stepped closer. Voice low. Dangerous. Listen to me. This is a dead-colored girl whose brother owed money to the wrong people. If we write this up as murder, we open an investigation. That investigation leads to white men from Connecticut. Connected men. That creates problems. Big problems. For them. For us. For everyone. So we just write heart attack. We file it. We walk away. The family gets closure. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody lives. Murphy looked at Sadie's body. At the evidence of violence. At the life that had been stolen. Then he looked at his partner. Murphy had a wife. 2 kids. A mortgage. He'd seen what happened to cops who didn't play ball. Transferred to the worst precincts. Passed over for promotions. Or worse. He made a choice. Heart attack. Donnelly nodded. Good man. Friday, September 10th, word spread through Harlem like wildfire. Nurse Sadie had died. Heart attack. Only 30 years old. People were devastated. Women cried in the streets. Men who hadn't been to church in years started praying. But something felt wrong. Sadie was young. Healthy. Never sick. Never complained. And she'd been fine Wednesday night. People had seen her leaving the hospital, smiling, tired, but okay. How does someone like that just drop dead? People whispered. Questioned. But what could they do? The police said heart attack. The medical examiner signed the certificate. Case closed. Mrs. Ella Brooks sat in her apartment holding that envelope with her notes. License plate. Time. Details. Thursday morning at 9 a.m., she'd heard the ambulance. Heard the neighbors saying Sadie was dead. Heart attack, they said. But Mrs. Brooks knew different. She'd seen those men grab Sadie Wednesday night. 16 hours later, Sadie was dead. That wasn't coincidence. That was murder. But who could she tell? The police? The same police who'd written heart attack in 6 hours and closed the case. Mrs. Brooks spent all day Friday thinking. Praying. Scared. She knew about Bumpy Johnson. Everyone in Harlem knew Bumpy Johnson. Some people feared him. Some people respected him. Most people understood that Bumpy took care of Harlem when nobody else would. And Mrs. Brooks remembered something. Years ago, maybe 1940 or 1941, she'd seen Bumpy at Mrs. Washington's house, coming by with groceries, sitting on the porch, talking with Sadie and her mother like family. Bumpy cared about Sadie. But if Mrs. Brooks went to Bumpy directly, walked into his office, asked to meet him, people would see. Word would spread. And if those white men found out, they'd come for her. Connecticut plates meant these weren't local thugs. These were organized men. Connected men. Men with resources. Mrs. Brooks needed to tell Bumpy. But safely. Anonymously. Friday night, 11:47 p.m. Mrs. Brooks walked the 6 blocks to Small's Paradise, the jazz club where Bumpy kept his office. The streets were busy enough that she wouldn't stand out. Another elderly woman walking home from a friend's house. She climbed the stairs to Bumpy's office above the club. The hallway was empty. His door was locked. Good. She took out the envelope, opened it, tore off a fresh piece of paper, and wrote carefully. They took her. Wednesday night, 11:32 p.m. 3 white men, blue Buick, Connecticut plates. Below that, she wrote the full license plate number. No signature. No name. Too dangerous. She slipped the paper under the door, walked downstairs, out of the club, home. Praying Bumpy would understand. Praying she'd done enough. Saturday morning, September 11, 1948. 5:45 a.m. Bumpy Johnson arrived at his office. He usually came early. Like the quiet before the city woke up. He unlocked the door, pushed it open. There was a piece of paper on the floor. Someone had slipped it under the door. Bumpy picked it up. Read it. They took her. Wednesday night, 11:32 p.m. 3 white men, blue Buick, Connecticut plates. Below that, a license plate number. Bumpy read it twice. Then he sat down at his desk and stared at those words. They took her. He'd heard Friday afternoon. Illinois had come by around 2 p.m. Bump. Bad news. Sadie Washington died Thursday morning. Heart attack. Only 30 years old. Bumpy had stopped what he was doing. What? I just heard they found her Thursday morning dead on her bedroom floor. Police said heart attack. Heart attack. 30 years old. Bumpy had known something was wrong immediately. Sadie didn't get sick. Didn't smoke. Didn't drink. Ran up 3 flights of stairs every day without breathing hard. But police said heart attack. Medical examiner signed it. What could he do? Now he was looking at a note that said different. They took her. Not she died. Not heart attack. They took her. Someone had seen something Wednesday night. And whoever wrote this knew it wasn't natural causes. Bumpy picked up the phone, called Illinois. Get here now. Saturday morning, 6:30 a.m. Illinois Gordon walked in, saw Bumpy's face. What happened? Bumpy handed him the note. Illinois read it. Looked up. When did this come? Sometime last night. Someone slipped it under the door. You believe it? Bumpy stood, walked to the window. Sadie Mae Washington was 30 years old. Never smoked. Never drank. Worked night shift for 7 years. Never sick. Never tired. He turned back to Illinois. Wednesday night, she walks home from work. Thursday morning, she's dead. Police write heart attack and close the case in 6 hours. He picked up the note again. Someone saw her get grabbed Wednesday night. 3 white men. Connecticut plates. 16 hours later, she's dead. That's not coincidence. Illinois nodded slowly. What do you need? Start with this license plate. I want to know who owns that car, where they're from, why they were in Harlem, everything on it. And get me names. Everyone who responded to Sadie's apartment. Every cop. Every detective. Everyone who signed that death certificate. Already working on it. I'll have names by tonight. Good. The funeral's tomorrow. Sunday afternoon, Mount Olivet. You going? I'm going. And if someone tried to cover this up, I'm going to find out exactly what they're hiding. By Saturday evening, Illinois had what they needed. The license plate went to Joey Numbers Catalano, the best information broker in New York. Within hours, Illinois had 5 names. Vincent Maroney. Age 42. Loan shark. Enforcer. New Haven, Connecticut. Tommy Raichi. Muscle. Known associates, Maroney. Frank Calabrese. Driver. Same crew. Marcus Washington. Debtor. Disappeared March 1948. And the police officers. Patrick Donnelly. First responding officer. Officer James Murphy. Detective Robert Walsh. Detective Frank Sullivan. Dr. Leonard Ashford. Medical examiner. All of them had touched Sadie Washington's death. All of them had looked away. And by Sunday morning, when Bumpy Johnson walked into Mount Olivet Baptist Church, he already knew everything. He knew who killed her. He knew who covered it up. And he knew exactly what he was going to do about it. The funeral service began at 1:30 p.m. Over 400 people packed into wooden pews. Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. stood at the pulpit, his voice rising as he spoke about Sadie's life. About the babies she'd delivered. About the families she'd saved. About a life cut short. But Bumpy wasn't listening to the sermon. He was studying the casket. Studying the makeup on Sadie's face. Studying the way they tried to hide something. And when he couldn't take it anymore, he stood up from the second row. Walked toward the casket. And touched the makeup on her neck with 2 fingers. It came off on his fingertips. Thick. Heavy. Stage makeup. He turned to Raymond Carter, the funeral director. Mr. Carter. Why is there so much makeup on her neck? Carter's face went white. His hands started shaking. I was just making her look peaceful, sir. Presentable for the family. Peaceful doesn't need this much cover, Bumpy said. He held up his fingers, showed the thick makeup. This is theater makeup. This is cover-up makeup. Why? Carter couldn't answer. Bumpy looked at Mrs. Washington. At her confused, grief-stricken face. Ma'am, I need to check something. I apologize. Mrs. Washington nodded, too shocked to speak. Bumpy gently, very gently, pushed back the white lace collar of Sadie's dress. And everyone in that church saw it. Rope burns. Deep red. Purple. Brutal. 2 distinct lines circling her throat. Someone in the front row screamed. Women started crying. Men stood up, angry, confused. The church erupted. Bumpy pushed back Sadie's left sleeve. Cigarette burns. Dozens of them. Small, perfect circles running up her forearm. He checked her right arm. Same thing. He looked at her hands. 3 broken fingernails. Torn cuticles. Bruised knuckles. Defensive wounds. She'd fought hard. Bumpy closed his eyes for 3 seconds. Saw it all. Sadie screaming. Fighting. Begging. Dying. When he opened his eyes, his face was stone. But his hands were shaking. He turned to Raymond Carter. Who told you to cover this up? Carter was trembling, sweating. Officer Donnelly. He came to my funeral home Thursday night. Said there might be marks on the body. Said to cover them, make her look peaceful. He gave me $50. Said it was for the family's sake. The church was in chaos now. People shouting. Crying. Demanding answers. Bumpy raised his hand. Silence. He turned to Reverend Powell. Reverend, I need you to call the police commissioner right now. Tell him what we found here today. Tell him I'm demanding a real investigation. Powell nodded. I'll call from my office. Bumpy looked back at Sadie one more time. Reached down. Touched her hand gently. I'm sorry I wasn't there. But I'm here now, and everyone who did this is going to answer for it. He looked at Carter. You're going to write down every word Donnelly said to you. Every detail. You're going to sign it. Understand? Carter nodded quickly. Bumpy turned to the crowd. Sadie Mae Washington was murdered. Tortured. Strangled. And police officers tried to hide it. Wrote heart attack to close the case. But Harlem doesn't forget. And Harlem doesn't let its people die without justice. The church erupted in shouts. Agreement. Rage. Then Bumpy Johnson walked out of that church. And 400 people knew somebody was about to die.